anniversary of the founding of the Turkish Republic. On October 29, 1923, the status of the nation as a republic was declared, and its official name was proclaimed to be Türkiye Cumhuriyeti. After that, a vote was held in the Grand National Assembly, and Atatürk was elected as the first president of the Republic of Turkey. Evet, etkinliğimiz çevrim içi ama bu önemli kutlamada öncelikle sizleri Cumhuriyetimizin kurucusu Büyük Önder Mustafa Kemal Atatürk ve ebediyete intikal eden aziz şehitlerimizin ve gazilerimizin manevi huzurunda bir dakikalık saygı duruşu ve ardından İstiklal Marşımızı dinlemeye davet ediyorum.
Götürün.
Atamızı bir kez daha kurduğu ve bizlere miras olarak bıraktığı Cumhuriyetimiz için minnetle, şükranla ve sevgiyle anıyoruz. Birazdan mikrofonu açılış konuşmasını yapmak üzere Sayın Dekan Yardımcım Profesör Doktor Emine Erdoğan Özünlü'ye, sonra da konuşmacımız Profesör Doktor John VanderLippe'ye bırakacağım. Profesör Doktor John VanderLippe, Nature, Agriculture and the Young Republic başlıklı bir konuşma yapacak. Ama önce Profesör VanderLippe'nin konferans konusuyla ilgili ben de birkaç şey söylemek istiyorum. Çünkü çok heyecan duyduğum bir konudur bu. Cumhuriyetimizin 100. yılında önemli sorumluluklar taşıyoruz. Bu sorumluluklarımızın neler olduğunu atamız bizlere 1933 yılında 10. yıl nutkunda bildirmişti. Atamız 10. yıl nutkunda bu günü en büyük bayram olarak nitelendirmiş Yaptıklarımızı asla kafi göremeyiz. Çünkü daha çok ve daha büyük işler yapmak mecburiyetinde ve azmindeyiz. Yurdumuzu dünyanın en mamur ve en medeni memleketleri seviyesine çıkaracağız demişti. Bu söylev Atatürk'ün kendi sesinden tam olarak dinleyebildiğimiz tek konuşmasıdır. Bu önemli günde, 100. yılda sizlere atamızın çok önemli bir sözünü daha hatırlatmak istiyorum. Vatan toprağı kutsaldır, kaderine terk edilemez demişti. Bizler de edebiyatçılar olarak bu çevre krizi çağında, bu iklim değişikliği çağında üzerimize ne görev düşüyorsa yapmaya hazırız. Bizlerin ülkemizde topraklarımıza, sularımıza, göllerimize, nehirlerimize ahlaki sorumluluğumuz bulunuyor. Üzerinde yaşadığımız bu kutsal toprakları tahrip etmeden yaşayabilmenin yollarını bulmalıyız. Yakında COP28 Birleşmiş Milletler İklim Değişikliği Konferansı gerçekleşecek. İnsan kaynaklı faaliyetler sonucunda atmosfere salınan kontrolsüz karbon emisyonları nedeniyle her geçen gün daha da ısınan bir dünyada yaşıyoruz. Çok geç olmadan yapabileceğimiz bazı şeyler hala var. Bu bilinçle her yıl farklı bir ülkede gerçekleştirilen İklim Değişikliği Konferansı'nın 28.'si yakında düzenlenecek. 196 ülkenin katıldığı Paris İklim Konferansı COP21 2015 yılında gerçekleşti. İlk kez gelişmiş olsun olmasın tüm ülkeler birlikte hareket etme ve sera gazı emisyonlarını azaltma kararı almışlardı. Ama 8 yıldır iklim krizi daha da vahim bir hal aldı ve iklim açısından olumlu sonuçlar elde edilemiyor. O halde Ulu Önder Atatürk'ün Cumhuriyetimizin ilk yıllarında bir asır önce gerçekleştirdiklerini hatırlamaya ihtiyacımız var. Atatürk doğamızı, topraklarımızı, insanın dışındaki tüm varlıkları gözetmek ve onların haklarına saygılı olmak zorunda olduğumuzu biliyordu. Ülkemizin doğal güzelliklerini ve doğal kaynakları sağlıklı gelecek nesiller için korunması gerektiğini biliyordu. Atatürk ormanlaştırmaya büyük önem veriyordu. Çünkü iklim kriziyle baş etmenin en etkili yollarından biridir bu. Birleşmiş Milletler 2021-2030 yıllarını ekosistem restorasyonu 10 yılı ilan etmiştir. Dünyada sayısız ağaçlandırma projeleri hayata geçirilmektedir. Ulu Önder Atatürk bunu bir asır önce başlatmıştı. Ormansız bir yurt vatan değildir demişti. Falih Rıfkı Atay, Cumhuriyet döneminin en etkin gazetecilerinden biridir. Atatürk'ün doğa sevgisini şöyle anlatıyor. Atatürk tabiatı ve ağacı çok severdi. Atatürk orman çiftliğini boz topraktan ormanlık haline getirdi. Ağaçların dikilişini, duruşunu, büyüyüşünü adım adım izledi demiştir. Son derece ilerici olarak, çağının ötesinde bir düşünür olarak, tarımda modernleşme Atatürk'ün ön plana aldığı konulardan biriydi. Bir ülkenin refahı ve sağlıklı bir çevre arasındaki ilişkiyi çok iyi biliyordu. Ülkenin gelişmesinde sürdürülebilir tarımın önemini çok iyi biliyordu. Onun liderliğinde doğa koruma, sürdürülebilirlik, orman varlığımızın korunması, su kaynaklarımızın yönetimi hem ekonomik gelişmeye hem de çevreye faydalı tarım uygulamaları Atatürk'ün ön plana aldığı konulardı. Ben sözü fazla uzatmadan Dekan yardımcımız Sayın Profesör Doktor Emine Erdoğan Üzünlü'ye mikrofonu bırakmak istiyorum. Daha sonra mikrofonu tekrar geri alarak konuşmacımızı ve etkinliğimizin moderatörünü sizlere tanıtacağım. It's my great honor and pleasure to introduce our speaker, Professor John VanderLippe diyeceğim arkadaşlar. Evet, sözü Emine hocama bırakıyorum.
Teşekkür ediyorum Sayın Hocam. Konferansın değerli katılımcıları, sevgili öğrenciler, kıymetli hocalarım, hepinizi saygı ve sevgiyle selamlıyorum. Cumhuriyetimizin 100. yılının kutlandığı bu güzel haftada böyle bir güzel bir bilimsel etkinlikle sizlerle birlikte olmaktan gerçekten mutluyum. Üniversitemiz genelinde şu an inanılmaz bir etkinlik coşkusu bir anlamda yaşanıyor. Eminim bugün de çok güzel bir bilgi şölenini aynı zamanda konferansımızın katılımcıları dinleyecekler. Ben öncelikli olarak hem bölüm başkanımız Profesör Doktor Ufuk Özdağ hem de diğer hocalarımıza emeklerinden, katkılarından dolayı teşekkür etmek isterim. Çok güzel ifade etti Ufuk Hocam. Özellikle Atatürk'ün çevre ve doğa sevgisini. Ve çok da güzel bir örnek verdi Atatürk Orman Çiftliği'ni. Hakikaten de Ankara'nın eski resimlerini bir Ankara çalışanı olarak onu da söylemek isterim. Yani klasik dönem Osmanlı dönemi Ankara'sında çalışmış ve sonraki evrelerini de incelemiş bir öğretim üyesi olarak gerçekten de Ankara'nın eski resimlerine baktığımızda ne kadar çok bir anlamda aslında bazı bölgeler oldukça yeşil gözüküyor ama bazı bölgelerde neredeyse ağacın olmadığını görüyoruz. Atatürk'ün özellikle başkent yaptıktan sonraki o dönemde modernleşme sürecinde sadece bir kent, bir ev veya bir bina kurmak suretiyle değil, aynı zamanda ağaç ve yeşilliğin olması suretiyle de bir anlamda bir kentin, bir şehrin çevresinin değişeceğini, onun modernleşeceğini düşünüyordu. Herhalde ondaki bu orman ve doğa sevgisi biraz da çocukluğuyla ilgiliydi. Yani onun çocukluğundaki o geçirmiş olduğu ailesiyle birlikte geçirdiği o zamanda, o çiftlikte doğayla, çevreyle ilişkisi sanırım biraz da o yıllara dayanmaktaydı. Ama şu bir gerçek, bugün görmüş olduğumuz birçok yer, Atatürk Orman Çiftliği başta olmak üzere, Söğüt Özü olarak adlandırdığımız yer, Kavaklıdere, bunların aslında hepsi o dönemde yapılan bir takım faaliyetlerin de ormanlaştırma çabalarının da aslında bir göstergesi. Hocam çok güzel ifade etti. Ankara ile ilgili orman çiftliği ilk defa zirai anlamda bir takım işler yapılması gerektiğini Mustafa Kemal Atatürk söylediğinde yazılan raporda burası asla ihya edilemez şeklinde bir rapor yazılmış. Ama Atatürk'ümüzün ifade ettiği burası vatan toprağıdır ve kaderine terk edilemez ifadesini gerçekten kullanmıştır. Bunu söylemesinin en büyük sebebi herhalde vatan kurmanın ne kadar zor olduğunu bildiği için onun her karış toprağının da mutlak surette değerlendirmesi gerektiğini de en iyi bilenlerden biriydi. Sadece tabii ki Ankara için değil, bizim hepimizin bildiği çok güzel bir örnek var. Yalova'da değil mi? Yürüyen köşk hikayesini hepimiz biliriz. Bir ağaç zarar görmesin diye o köşkün yaklaşık bir 4,5 metre öteye taşındığını veya Sarıkamış'ta ormanlaştırma faaliyetlerine çok önem verilmesi gerektiğini ifade eden, onunla ilgili çok enteresan bir hikaye vardır. Sarıkamış'ta bir bölge Ruslar tarafından ağaçlandırılmış işgal döneminde ve halkın hafızasında hep şu kalmış. Ruslar burayı yeşillendirmişler, orman haline dönüştürmüşler diye. Bu galiba onun içine çok dokunmuş ve hemen Cumhuriyet kurulduktan sonra ve sonraki aşamalarda bu bölgelerin ormanlaştırılması gerektiğini, ağaçlandırılması gerektiğini, sadece milletin hafızasında öyle bir hafızasında böyle bir hatıranın kalmasını istememiş. Ve hakikaten de Sarıkamış o anlamda sonraki aşamalarda bir hareketle bir ormanlaştırma sürecine tabi tutuluyor. Bu bile Atatürk'ün aslında buna ne kadar önem verdiğini, çevreye, doğaya ne kadar saygı gösterdiğini göstermesi açısından çok çok önemli. Biz minnet borçluyuz. Tabii Atatürk başta olmak üzere, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk'ümüz başta olmak üzere o dönemin devlet adamlarına şükran borçluyuz. Bu anlamda herhalde bunu gereklerini yerine getirmek için çevreye, doğaya bugün de duyarlılığımızı göstermek durumundayız. O yüzden bu konferansın da aynı zamanda bu konuda özellikle bilinç yaratması açısından çok kıymetli olduğunu düşünüyorum. Çok teşekkür ediyorum bu anlamda da. Hem düzenleyen, tertip eden başta ifade ettiğim üzere bölüm başkanımız olmak üzere diğer hocalarımıza çok çok teşekkür ediyorum. Ben tabii bu süreç içerisinde çok fazla etkinlik var. Konferansı büyük bir kısmını dinleyemeyeceğim ama bir kısmını da ayırmak durumunda kalacağım. O yüzden şimdiden affınıza sığınıyorum, özür diliyorum. Çok güzel bir etkinlik olmasını diliyorum, saygılarımı sunuyorum.
Çok teşekkürler Sayın Hocam. Sağ olun, var olun.
Teşekkür ederim, sağ olun.
Great honor and pleasure to introduce our speaker, Professor John VanderLippe. The moderator will be Professor Dr. Pınar Batur. John VanderLippe is Professor of History at State University of New York, Delhi. He is former Dean of Liberal Arts and Sciences at SUNY Delhi, and he's the author of The Politics of Turkish Democracy, İsmet İnönü and the Formation of the Multi-Party System, 1938-1950, and served as editor-in-chief of the Middle East Studies Association Bulletin for many years. He is the author of a number of articles on Turkish politics and culture and on racism and international affairs. He has received grants and fellowships from the Harry Frank Guggenheim Foundation, the Woodrow Wilson Center, Kennan Institute for Advanced Russian Studies, and the Hoover Institution, among others. And our moderator, Pınar Batur, is a professor of sociology at Vassar College and has chaired multidisciplinary program in urban studies, international studies, and environmental studies. She has authored books and articles on global racism and anti-racism and environmental racism. She is the editor of Handbook of Sociology of Racial and Ethnic Relations. She also works on Turkish authors and intellectuals, on green discourse, and on eco-consciousness. She has received grants from SSRC, IREX, the Kennan Institute at Woodrow Wilson Center, the Hoover Institution, Guggenheim Foundation, and the Dreyfus Foundation, among others. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, Pınar is Professor VanderLippe's wife. The floor is yours, Pınar and John.
Thank you very much for having me this morning. Did you want to say anything or buttons? Okay.
Ben günaydın diyorum, o kadar. Bu yapılan çalışma bizim yeni, yani bu son birkaç yıl içinde ilgilenmeye başladığımız konu üzerine. Türkiye'deki tarım ilişkileri ve Türkiye'deki köylerimizde ne oluyor? Ben onun için buradayım. Birlikte yaptığımız bazı çalışmalardan ötürü. Hepinize günaydın. Cumhuriyet Bayramımız kutlu olsun.
Thank you for having me here today. I'd like to thank Professor Özda and Professor Uzunlu for inviting me today and making this talk possible. I'd also like to thank the Dekan of the faculty, Mehmet Öz, for arranging this meeting, and I'd like to thank the University Rector, Professor Mehmet Cahit Göran, and all of the faculty of the Amerikan Kültürü ve Edebiyatı Bölümü. I'd also like to thank our research assistant on this project, Arda Korkmaz, whom we've been working with for a while. He's a doctoral student at Hacettepe University, and he's done excellent work on helping us prepare for this talk today. Hepimizin 100. yılımız kutlu olsun. I'm sorry if I butcher Turkish names and other words. I've been speaking Turkish for 40 years now, but I still haven't managed to be able to say or to sound anything like other than bad Turkish. So please forgive me for that. My mother-in-law, Sulhiye Batur, was born on the day the Lausanne Treaty was signed in 1923. She She always had in her heart the desire to live to see the 100th anniversary of the Republic. And I'm very sad to say that she is not with us anymore, unfortunately. But my talk today is dedicated to all of those who remember the founding of the Republic, who lived through those years, and whose lives and work remind us today of the importance of those years in building the Republic. I'll be talking today about the Gazi or Atatürk Orman Çiftliği as a Kemalist agricultural modernization project. I'll limit my remarks to the period from 1925 to about 1937, so I can focus on the early years of the Republic. Furthermore, I'll be talking about how the Çiftlik fit into the developing agricultural policies of the Republic in the early years, and how the Çiftlik was an example of modernization and its connection to two, in particular, of the arrows of Kemalism, statism and populism, which I'll talk about later on in the talk. Atatürk said that there are two conquerors, sword and the plow. In the end, he said, the plow always emerges victorious over the sword. He insisted that our nation is a nation of farmers. We need to raise their possibilities to current and advanced standards. I'm trying to through my slides here somehow. I'm working. Okay, try now. Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay. Let's move to farmers here for a second. Okay. Insisted our nation is a nation of farmers. We need to raise their possibilities to current and advanced standards. After all, Türkiye'nin gerçek sahibi ve efendisi, gerçek üretici olan köylüdür. Atatürk felt that the industrialization of Turkey was an important future step in modernization or muasırlaşma. We insisted that what would feed Turks in the present and what the young republic had to build on at the time was agriculture. Atatürk, Ankara, rather, as the new capital, was also founded in the heart of the agricultural lands of the new republic. The national architecture of the early Turkish Republic was a product of redefining space according to the Kemalist reform agenda of the young republic, including redesigning Ankara's urban space as well as the surrounding countryside. We all talk about how old Istanbul is. It was the old capital of the Ottoman Empire, but as a settlement, Ankara itself is about 3,000 years old. It was part of a network of ancient trade routes, as we know, and its strategic location in the early 20th century and its connections by telegraph and railroads to other towns and to Istanbul made it a logical choice for the new capital of the Turkish Republic. The creation of the Republic, the city and surrounding region had about 30,000 residents, which were supplemented by a wave of immigrants over the following decade or so after Ankara became the new capital and was starting to grow and build. Spatial and environmental restructuring of Ankara, as you can see in these slides, came a way to generate a physical representation of modernization, which was at the core of Kemalism. And the city symbolized overcoming the Ottoman past and creating a new and modern Turkish future. The city project aimed to design, condition, and create state-sanctioned and developed public space, both in the city and such neighborhoods as Ulus and Kızılay, Kurtuluş, Çankaya, Kavaklıdere, and also outside the city, where urban met rural, where the new urban future could reshape, even replace the old traditional village life of the past. Professor Sunakili argues Kemalism as an ideological basis of the revolutionary change of the Turkish society contributed to the restructuring of the cities as well as the countryside. Starting with the foundation of the Republic, several urban planners participated in redesigning the city. Among these was Dr. Karl Christian Lurcher, who proposed a plan in 1924-1925. Now, that was the first plan. In 1927, they decided they needed a new plan to accommodate for more growth in the city. So they hired the German architect Hermann Janssen, who had done work on a number of cities and was famous for working on Berlin as well. He was asked to submit a new urban plan to replace the original Lurcher plan. And they wanted it to accommodate massive growth through Ankara, because they estimated that by 1977, there would be maybe 300,000 residents living in the capital city. 1928, Janssen submitted his plan based on three main features. First was a north-south axis anchored by a wide boulevard running from Ulus to Çankaya. And the second thing was that he wanted to build streets that were designed specifically for automobile and truck traffic. This is a brand new city, and this is the age of the automobile, and so he wanted to accommodate those automobiles, knowing that traffic grew. Third thing was green spaces spread around the city, especially concentrated near the citadel, Ankara Kalesi. He announced that the advantage of city planning in a city like Ankara was that it was a brand new city. Unlike the ancient city of Istanbul or the ancient cities of Europe, this was being designed, built in accordance with new assumptions and possibilities for urban life and transportation. He continued to do drop designs and build various kind of projects in Ankara up until the beginning of World War II. 1939, he ended up returning again to Germany and to Berlin. But what the city needed was a new dimension where urban could meet with the rural, where the new urban future could reshape that rural past. And this is what led to the development of the çiftlik, both as a symbol and as a workshop for building the new Turkish Republican future. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, as Professor Üzümlü pointed out, was raised on a farm as a child, and he retained a lifelong interest in farming and farm culture. He had a personal love for nature, which was legendary, and in her memoirs, Afet İnan, his adopted daughter, relates that one of the reasons he chose Çankaya for the residence in Ankara was that birch and willow trees were already abundant in that area. They covered a lot of that area at that time. And so Atatürk wanted to live among the trees. Apparently, each morning, he would also look for and salute an İde ağacı that was next to a road on the way to the National Assembly over near Ulus. And Atatürk was saddened when they had to pull it down to widen the road eventually. There's also a popular story about how he had his summer house moved 5 meters on rollers in order to save a tree whose roots were impinging upon the foundation of the house. Rather than cutting down a tree, he moved the house. In fact, he saw trees as a vital part of restructuring the development of spaces where the public could meet nature. Atatürk wrote to his city planners, and he said, wider lines should be made of trees in a uniform manner. When looking from one side, it should give the sensation of a wall made of trees. Unless these wide, uniform, and clean lines are made, the area will be perceived as a nursery rather than as an urban park. While designing these spaces, shady resting places and promenades should be considered even in the forests. A tree that is planted in the correct position can affect the eye as pleasantly as a statue or a monument. At Kastamonu, where famously introduced the shopka, Mustafa Kemal also talked about how he intended to establish a farm at Ankara. He emphasized that modern agriculture was the future of the Republic. The idea of creating a model farm had been around for a few years at this point, and in the spring of 1925, a team of foreign and Turkish agricultural engineers was charged by Mustafa Kemal with the task of finding suitable land to create the farm near Ankara. They looked all over the area around Ankara, and they looked at this one place there near Suud, and they said, no, this isn't going to work. They initially rejected the site that was become the farm, saying that it was barren, swampy, unsuited to modern agriculture, i.e. kıraç bir bozkır ortasında ortaçağ bir şehri, su yok, hiçbir şey yok, dediler. They argued that working on this land will erode your patience or your money, and probably both. But Mustafa Kemal declared that this was the ideal setup for the challenge of building a model farm to demonstrate how Turkish peasants could make barren land fertile. They asked, if we can't rehabilitate this land, who will? Indeed, this challenge was to show how Turkish workers and villagers would and could make the dry, barren land of the Anatolian prairie fertile. This point was an important conviction for Atatürk, as Uludağ, as well as Çağlar and Uludağ's works exhibit. In the beginning, the farm was limited to land that they acquired from Farika Hanım, who owned that land. Later, it included other land that was purchased for the farm in Etimesgut, Valgat, Çakırlar, Güvercinlik, and from other farms around that territory. On May 5th, 1925, what was called the Ankara farm came into being with about 20,000 hectares. Later, it was expanded through purchases and other ways to about 55,000 hectares at its greatest extent. On June 11th, 1937, the land called Ankara Farm up until that point was transferred to the Turkish Republic by Atatürk, and it became officially the Gazi Orman Çiftliği. On that day, he said, "We have achieved this triumph in 13 years. We displayed the agricultural arts and possibilities on barren land while establishing a green recreational area for city dwellers." It is truly remarkable what the early Republican leaders were able to achieve in 13 years. It's really amazing. I think back on American history. I was thinking this morning about the 100th anniversary of the United States in 1876. The U.S. had been through a civil war. It was still a widely divided country and still a very undeveloped place. But what they've achieved in Turkey in 13 years is truly, I think, remarkable. He said, Atatürk, "We displayed the agricultural arts and possibilities of barren land while establishing a green recreational area for city dwellers." Well, in March 1950, the name of the farm was changed again to commemorate Atatürk. The name was changed to Atatürk Orman Çiftliği, which it has retained since that time. From its inception, the çiftlik had three complementary roles. The first role was agricultural. A number of things here: developing new crops, including fruit, developing new agricultural techniques that were suitable to the harsh prairie climate, developing livestock that could be adjusted to local conditions, improving seeds and building a seed bank, establishing greenhouses and nurseries, reconditioning the soil, engaging in forestry and conservation, and alternative agricultural technology, including introducing tractors to farming. The second role was establishing small manufacturing. So it had both an agricultural and industrial role here. Small manufacturing and workshops were built for agricultural machinery. Go ahead. Farm was used to educate farmers, citizens, and students by providing applied and practical courses and internships on the farm, and combining industrial production and processing of agricultural goods to market to the public. There are two projects at the farm, a brewery and a dairy, that were particularly important for this purpose, and they were developed as working establishments as well as showcases for people to visit and learn from. The third role of the farm was to serve as a recreational space for urban dwelling, complete with swimming pools, boating, and picnic spaces to create a model modern countryside that would bring together farming, manufacturing, and recreation, all in a pleasant and accessible space. In their work, scholars like Duygu Kaçar, Leyla Algut, Didem Dizdaroğlu, Meltem Yılmaz, Selin Çavdar, and Elif Mihcioğlu emphasize one or more of these points as well. Professor Rushan Keleş also studied the çiftlik within an urban policy context. The complexity of the multiple roles and overlapping agendas made the çiftlik a pivotal project for diverse sections of the population. Besides urban visitors, rural farmers, educators, students, industrialists, small manufacturers, they all used the çiftlik as an example and as a blueprint for their own efforts. And so there were other kind of enterprises around Turkey that were modeled on the farm and the kinds of things that were being distributed or displayed there, I should say. Herman Janssen produced some preliminary sketches for the çiftlik and had some designs that he had in mind, but his initial work focused on the larger city itself. Meanwhile, in 1928, the Swiss architect, Ernst, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Egli or Eili, I pronounce it Eili, designed the Marmara Köşkü, which is the first large structure built on the farm. In 1934, he presented a plan specifically for the layout and the structure of the çiftlik as a whole. Working with Turkish engineers and workers, their construction was completed very rapidly by about 1937. Along with the Marmara Köşkü, there's another Gazi Köşkü that was there as well. And along with those two, he also designed a modern hamam. He designed a central restaurant He had designed an additional house for Ülkü Ada Tepe, which is Atatürk's adopted daughter, in 1937. Janssen and Ailey worked together on the brewery, which was a special showcase designed initially by Janssen, built by Ailey and his workers, along with administrative offices, workers' houses, housing for the management, etc. All of these were you can see all these in an excellent work that has got a lot of maps and architectural sketches prepared by Rabia Gürkan, which is a work on the Çiftlik as an agricultural heritage. Together, planners, builders created a model for rural industrial development centers. So what they were doing was they were building out in the countryside an area that was both a farm but also industrial. The idea was to combine these two kinds of things together. You can see these in other places. Elmadağ is another example of this. Kırıkkale is another example of this kind of project that has industrial kind of things built in rural areas sort of outside the city. The aim of these hybrid city industrial farm kinds of places was to combine urban and rural, to encourage the rural population both to remain in the countryside, but also to provide economic development, to integrate rural industry as well as agriculture into the national economy. The creation and evolution of the Çiftlik as a public space during the establishment of the Turkish Republic and the presidency of Atatürk is integrally connected to the reconditioning of the environment around Ankara. Istanbul enjoyed officially sanctioned public green areas and parks that date all the way back to the Ottoman period, probably even before then, many of which were initiated and maintained by vakıfs for the people. In Ankara, new parks around the new government buildings, which were being established about the same time as the Çiftlik, weren't really green yet. They're due to the natural climatic conditions of the Anatolian prairie in Ankara. The other major green area for Ankara, the Gençlik Parkı, was established in Ulus, but not until 1936, and it wasn't available as a recreational area until 1943. So you had Çubuk Barrage and you had the Çiftlik, and you had some other green spaces, but they had to be greened before they could become green, I suppose. The establishment of green areas and parks in Ankara, this project, was an extension of an ambitious city planning effort based on the Janssen Plan. It was presented as an image of tomorrow's Turkey. For example, the Çiftlik's design included two large pools, one built in the shape of the Sea of Marmara, the other built in the shape of the Black Sea. Originally, these were meant to serve as cisterns. The water was to be used for irrigation and for livestock watering. But eventually, the Marmara Sea was filled with 1,000 square meters of water for the opening ceremony of the farm on June 7th, 1925. And then it was later converted to use as a swimming pool rather than a cistern. And there was a guest house built near the pool there where official visitors could visit. And it also becomes a place where Mustafa Kemal spent his weekends. It becomes a place for a new type of social interaction and activity. The idea was to bring together rural and urban dwellers in this area of relaxation and a new kind of modern life, kind of a new country club for the state elite. The zoo that was at the farm was established first to demonstrate a variety of livestock through farmers and agricultural workers. It later became a way to show and teach the public about animals. First, it was mainly Anatolian wildlife. Later, there were more exotic species that were housed at the zoo. Furthermore, the Çiftlik was a marketplace. It was a place meant to serve the people of Ankara by producing and selling high quality and inexpensive dairy products and vegetables, fruits, which at the time were difficult to obtain because of a number of reasons. One, that there had been a decade of war in Anatolia that had destroyed much of the agricultural land, which had to be brought into production again. And also the harsh and dry climate around Ankara, and also the local tradition of farmers producing for self-consumption rather than for market. To this end, in the 1930s, the dairy factory began producing cheese and yogurt and other products. We still buy Ankara Orman Çiftliği yogurt. I mean, who doesn't have one of those glass cupboards in their home? They also produced butter and later on ice cream. Well, ice cream is very nice too, I think. They sold a variety of vegetables and seasonal fruits that were produced on the farm. sorry, there's construction going on outside of our house here, and it's making the whole house rattle. Meanwhile, the malt factory produced necessary ingredients for fermentation, and the Chiflik experimented with on-site bottling of mineral water. The increasing population of the capital city demanded an increase of foodstuffs, and it also became a more and more important place for recreation. My mother-in-law remembered that as a child going to the Chiflik by train to picnic with her family, and they would go to drink beer in the garden of the Bira Fabrikase, and they would come home with goods produced in the farm. Excuse me. Just a second, I've lost my place here. Okay. In addition, the Lokanta, the Chiflik restaurant, became an important spot for many celebrations and gatherings of local families as well as government officials, businessmen, etc. In fact, as we were searching about how the Chiflik is remembered in literature, we read more accounts of visits to the restaurant than to any other places on the farm. For example, Ercüment Ekrem Talu, in his Ankara'dan Mektuplar, published in 1937, talks about the Lokanta as a destination for cheap, clean, and tasty food. Claude Ferrer, in his Ankara Dirt Hanım, wrote about seeing the Chiflik as an oasis after the dry prairie from the window of the train, and that the Chiflik was the kind of landmark that people used to know that they were approaching the modern new capital. Hasan İzzettin Dinamo writes about the social function of the Chiflik buildings, including using the train station as a makeshift düğün salon. According to Adalet Ağaoğlu, the Chiflik had become the weekend ritual for many Ankara families. 1944, Samin Kocagöz, in his work Bir Şehrin İki Kapısı, wrote about the refreshing feeling of the cold beer the Chiflik farm beer fabrikası provided on hot days. As a result, many novelists, from Ayşe Kulin to Pınar Kurt, integrated the Chiflik into their writing as they've written about Ankara as well. A long-term hope for the Chiflik was also that it would modify the dry climate of Ankara by establishing wooded areas that would bring more humidity, rain, and alter the dry prairie weather. However, the establishment of the Chiflik was meant to do more than just add to Ankara a green showcase. The Chiflik was a physical manifestation of the Turkish state's efforts to demonstrate the combined policies of modernization, statism, and populism, all combined to highlight the importance of agriculture in Turkish everyday life. In this policy capacity, the Chiflik served multiple agricultural functions as well as production and training efforts. Since it was conceptualized as a center for the modernization of agriculture, Chiflik also became a place for experimenting with alternative technology. For example, in 1934, the farm became the site of an experiment to produce and use biodiesel fuel in tractors. They used peanut oil as a fuel for the Chiflik tractors. And the problem researchers at the time ultimately found was the same problem they find today when trying to make biodiesel, which is that the amount of energy used to produce biodiesel makes it really unfeasible as an alternative to oil as a combustible fuel. At the Chiflik's inception, the agricultural sector, urban development, and industrialization were central to the Republic's policy concern. In the context of still recovering from World War I and the War of Independence, and still being subject to the economic restraints imposed by the Lausanne Treaty of 1923, this was not the best setting to produce comprehensive long-term policies, but it was the beginning of efforts that cascaded into more complex outcomes. The six main principles of Kemalist ideology: republicanism, nationalism, secularism, populism, statism, and reformism, dominated as the core principles of the Republic and the policy-making process in the period of the single-party politics. Kemalist interpretation of the broad goals, together with a vision of Turkish history, was proposed by Atatürk in his speech to the party in 1927. But the six arrows were constantly debated. They kept being debated all the way through, and still are today, I suppose, by statesmen, intellectuals, and the people. It provided a meta-narrative, in the words of Jean-Francis Lyotard, which influenced the interpretation of the past while legitimating the existing and evolving power structure by also defining terms of development, progress, nation, and democracy. As a result, Kemalism defined the contours of overall policymaking, including the enactment, the enforcement, and the consequences of policy. Çiftlik, I think, is a great representation of all facets of the policy. Talked about these points in a couple of my works, also in my book, The Politics of Turkish Democracy, and there's a number of other works. But I won't bore you with all that. Republicanism and nationalism were generally embraced among the political elite by the 1930s. Those two eras, Republican and nationalism, found ready acceptance among the political elite. Secularism and reformism, those are two that were defined in reaction to the Ottoman past and to the Bolshevik alternative, which was developing in the 1920s. Statism and populism, I would argue, were meant to justify state involvement in all aspects of daily life. The public space for the new republic was evolving. The terms of political and civic engagement were still being debated and negotiated. About statism, People's Party's 1931 program. This is the first party congress after the beginning of a worldwide Great Depression. The party met in 31, and they decided to adopt statism as a principle. They said, while holding individual effort in industry as essential, it is among our important principles that the state take an interest, especially in the economic area, in the work required to bring the nation satisfaction and the country prosperity in as short a period as possible. This meant that in the economic policy, the People's Party would stress state investment and control, central planning, and intervention in the movement of capital. But in a broader sense, statism meant not only central control of the economy, but also the political and social development of Turkey, resulting in the state becoming the primary actor in all spheres of Turkish life. The popular term devlet baba, father state, reflects this patriarchal image of a state that interfered in everything and was supposed to take care of all needs. İsmet İnönü, the prime minister at the time, and a strong advocate of statism, saw it as a pragmatic measure that was necessary during the period of economic crisis in the 1930s and 40s. As a result, the state became a primary actor in all spheres. Of Turkish life, as argued by Berberoğlu, Faruk Birtek, Korkut Baratov, Çağlar Keder, among others. Beginning in 1930, the İnönü cabinet began to take a more interventionist approach to the economy, leading to the adoption of statism. But also, in addition, the National Assembly passed legislation that brought sweeping changes in economic strategy in two main areas. First, protective measures were extended to cover local industry. Restrictions were placed on foreign investment and ownership. The state began nationalizing industries. Second, the government extended control over internal markets with price controls and interest rates. Now, these two major decisions, the nationalizing of industry and controlling of the market, influenced the development of agricultural lands and the marketing of agricultural goods as well. For example, the government set prices for commodities and established a monopoly on the purchase and the pricing and dispensing of agricultural products. Payment in kind to government employees was introduced to supplement paychecks. Moreover, state monopolies were taken away from private management and were placed under state control or state management as ambitious programs of investment in industry and mining were launched in the 1930s under statism. Agriculture, which is the main component of the existing economy, was indirectly managed by the state as well. As Jacob Landau points out, when it comes to the Kemalist era known as halkçılık or populism, one must examine the political rhetoric as a way to develop the idea of civic participation to develop democracy. According to the 1931 program, the ruling People's Party was committed to the goal of establishing harmony between labor and capital. They said, we consider the individuals who accept an absolute equality before the law and who recognize no privileges for an individual, family, class, or community to be the people, to be the people, of the people, and for the people. Recep Peker would elaborate on this commitment at the Fourth Party Congress in 1935. He said, we do not believe in regional interests or in the privilege of feudalism of families and of groups. The Turkish populism also rejected the idea of a society divided by hostile classes. This is the Soviet vision of things, in favor of a vision of the common good and the development of civic responsibility. The goal of Kemalist populism was to achieve unity, harmony, and efficiency across differently situated functional spheres of society, i.e. rural, urban, worker, management, etc. The new public's efforts to achieve rapid modernization and transformation through a state-led program of urbanization, industrialization, and agriculture and cultural development was perfectly reflected in the Çiftlik's foundation as well as its development. Kemalism didn't develop an environmental policy as we would think of it today. It's not that kind of conservation at all. But the model farm was an extension of state power for modernization. While populism influenced the land usage and the culture that developed around the Çiftlik, statism defined the process of its integration into economic relations. In terms of the modernization project, Çiftlik represented an objective to educate and motivate rural people not only to make the transition to modern agriculture, but also to integrate them into the modernizing reforms of the new republic. While I was doing my research on this project, our research on this project, I came across a film that had been made. I don't know if you've ever seen this or not. I haven't. There's only 2 or 3 copies in existence, apparently. In 1930, the American ambassador to Turkey, Joseph Grew, here on the right, joined Mustafa Kemal at the farm to take part in the making of a short film by Fox Movie Tone. It was one of 2 American film studios that operated in Turkey at the time. The purpose of the film was to introduce the leader of the new Turkish Republic to an American audience. Filming at the farm was the way to replace American images of the old and Oriental Ottoman Empire with new images of a modern European Turkey. Beginning of the film, Ambassador Grew introduces President Mustafa Kemal as the leader who saved Turkey from decay by founding the new modern Turkish state. Mustafa Kemal then speaks to the ambassador in French, emphasizing that the Turkish people are by nature democratic, that they have a strong affection for the American people. The message then of the film was that the American audience should no longer perceive the new Turkey as an other, as it had perceived the old Ottoman Empire, but rather they should perceive Turkey as an ally and a member of a contemporary civilization pursuing the same values and ideals as America. The film also includes scenes of the president and the ambassador visiting the dairy and examining new Ford tractors imported from the US for use on the farm. The Çiftlik was thus useful not only for demonstrating a new future to Turkish rural and urban dwellers, it was also useful for demonstrating the new Turkish Republic to the world. As Turkey prepared itself for the realities of the Second World War, representing multiple and complex facets of the Turkish Republic and the Turkish future, the Çiftlik was an important achievement for the new republic, monument to its founder, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, and it remains so even 100 years later. Well, we know the saga of the Çiftlik continues, and I'll stop here as promised. And one more time, I'd like to celebrate the 100th year with you in Atatürk's word, Ne mutlu Türk'üm diyene. Thank you very much.
Take questions.
I'm happy to take questions if anybody has questions.
We
You
have
can-
very short time left.
Very short time, but I'll keep my answer short.
You can put your questions on the chat.
I have a comment.
Sure,
Can I?
sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this brilliant talk on agriculture and Atatürk Orman Çiftliği during the early days of the young republic, Professor VanderLippe. Actually, Atatürk did land restoration at such an early time, and this reminds me of this newly declared United Nations declared, as you know, United Nations declared the years 2021 through 2030, the decade on ecosystem restoration. And there are a lot of initiatives going on around the world. They have a beautiful website. For example, one of these initiatives is the Shanshui initiative in China, and they have some 75 large-scale restoration going on around the country. They have already restored 2 million hectares of land in these initiatives, and their aim is to increase this to up to 10 million hectare in China. And there are restoration activities going on in Africa, in other countries around the world. And it's so wonderful to know that our Atatürk did this 100 years ago. So I just wanted to say how, wonderful his initiatives were in these early days of the Turkish Republic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I see also a question from...
Yeah, it's almost 5 o'clock, but we can go on.
Let's take 2 more questions.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we said the event will come to an end at 5 o'clock, but we
questions.
don't have to if you have questions. Yeah.
I see a question from Kerem Acar. It says, how successful was the movie in changing the image of the Turkish Republic from an American viewpoint? The movie was produced with Fox Movie Tone, is the company that made the newsreels that were played before movies in the theaters. And we may have seen these kind of things, with a kind of a heroic sounding male voice, talking about this, that kind of a thing. And so movie theaters would have gotten these as a package to play or not. And whether they played them or not, I don't know. That would require more research. I've only found one article about the film, and it doesn't mention whether how much it was played in the US or not. At the time, the American image of Turks and Turkey was all connected to the Armenian genocide in World War I. And so the film probably wouldn't have put much of a dent in that image. I think what changed the image of Turks and Turkey in the United States was actually the Korean War, where Turkey participated and Turkish troops performed heroically, and that made the news a lot in the United States. And I think a lot of Americans who served in the Korean War had interaction with the Turkish soldiers there, and they brought back those images from then. So I think that more than anything probably changed the view. About Ufuk, about your point, they would have known even back in the 20s that Anatolia had at one time been covered with trees. That's obvious. They've known that for a long time. And so I think there's the idea of restoring forests in Anatolia is a perfectly logical thing, and it is but it's a major project. And my understanding is that what has made the projects in China successful is the participation of local farmers. If local farmers see that they gain something from doing this, either financially or in the long term, they support it, and that's essential. You've got to have local people managing the forests, building the forests, planting the trees, looking after them, all those kind of things. And so as long as that's the case, then I think the reforestation projects can succeed around the world.
And I think that was done in Konya, Karapınar in the 1950s, when this area was suffering from intense erosion. The government wanted to move the people living here to another place, but then the local people said, no, we will stay here and we will restore our lands. And that's also, I think, a wonderful initiative in the 1950s.
Sure.
We should take
Mert, I think, raised his hand. Mert Deniz.
Any other questions? You have a question? Mert Deniz.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me, Hocam? And thanks so much for the talk, Professor. And good morning. I'm sorry if I'm looking bad because it's early morning here. So I have a very brief question. Then I can disappear and leave this stage to you as it's supposed to, Hocam. I recently heard from a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. We know that in the 1930s, the government in Turkey received loans from the United States, and the ambassador visited the president and the Atatürk Orman Çiftliği, as we call it in Turkish. The Rockefeller archive here suggests there were funds coming earlier, even as early as the 1920s. Did you do any research on it or find any details? If you can comment on it, I can really benefit from it. Thanks so much.
Sure. There were a few companies, American companies, that were particularly interested in investing in Turkey in the 1920s. Ford was one of them because they wanted to build automobiles and they also said tractors. Hoover, the Hoover vacuum cleaner company, was one of the major supporters of restoring relations. The U.S. didn't have relations with the Turkish Republic until 1927. But there were people, businessmen in particular, who were pushing to build those relations during the 1920s. And there were particularly companies that thought they could do business here. And so it was the ones that had thought they could sell stuff for agricultural work, also industrial kind of things. I think I'm trying to think right now of any other companies that invested in Turkey at the time.
Did the government also send money? Yes. I mean, they also gave aid, but I think until Marshall Plan, it wasn't significant enough to make any change at all. So I think what really restructured agriculture was the Marshall Plan. Had an incredible impact on Turkish agricultural development. Prior to that, American aid was Amerikan Kültürü. It was more like a band-aid used here and there, and it was to accommodate for American companies to invest in Turkey. That's all.
Thanks so much.
It's a pleasure. I think we outdid our time, so I think we should let people go. Students to have their snacks.
Thank you very much again for having us. We really enjoyed this and appreciate your questions and comments. Please let us know if you'd like to communicate further about this.
Yes, Professor Özda has our email. Feel free to email us. We will be delighted to communicate. And when we come back to Turkey, maybe I'll come and visit you at beautiful Hacettepe.
Okay, so this recording will be in YouTube soon. Thank you so much for being with us, Professor VanderLippe and Professor Batur, on this very special day. Cumhuriyetimizin 100. yılı kutlu olsun diyerek o zaman programımızı kapatıyoruz. Bütün katılımcılarımıza yürekten teşekkür ediyoruz. Ve
Teşekkür ederiz.
İyi akşamlar diliyoruz. John ve Pınar'a da günaydın diyoruz.
Haydi görüşürüz.
Görüşürüz. Çok sevgiler. Ankara'ya benim için merhaba deyin.
Ankara'ya bekliyoruz.
Geliyoruz.
Geliyoruz.